What up, folks? I'm back once again doing another video game review, and I'm reviewing Streets of Rage 3 for the Sega Genesis, and this is pretty much the third and final Streets of Rage game for the Sega Genesis. And the plot behind it is that Mr. X, after the defeat in the first two games, decided to start a research company called RoboSci Corporation as a front for his criminal organization. And pretty much he receives help from a guy named Dr. Dom. And the issue is that he makes for a bunch of realistic looking robots to replace some of the important city officials. And Dr. Zan pretty much found out about it, about what Mr. X is doing as far as these robots are concerned, and contacts Blaze Fielding about it. And he ended up joining Axel, Blaze, and Skate to defeat Mr. X and stop him from making these robots. Now, Adam and Max from the first two games don't make an appearance in this particular game, mostly because they're doing something else that's like related to that job. And pretty much the game has pretty much 7 levels instead of 8 like the first two games rather. And pretty much you have to fight against Mr. X's goons to stop his plan of using those robots. Plus, like the first two Streets of Rage games, all the playable characters each have their own fighting style, and all of them have different strength. Their strength and speed are different from each other. So one is fast. One is the fastest out of the 4, while another character is pretty much like the strongest, but the slowest. Plus, all of them have their own special moves that they use against the enemies, but at the cost of a little bit of health, you know. Plus, much like any other fighting game. Not fighting game, but beat 'em ups. You can pretty much use different weapons against enemies, but then you can only use them like a certain number of times. Plus, you pick up food for health to restore your health. You know, all of the bosses that's in this game are new to the series. You know. Now, as far as like the graphics and level designs, they're pretty good. And I was pretty much I could honestly say that it's probably like the best in the Streets of Rage series. In the gameplay, I do like it. It's pretty much not as stiff and clunky as the first two games, and pretty much like the soundtrack is pretty good, and much like the graphics and level design is most likely be the best in the series. Now, I'll be honest in that I would say Sega pretty much missed an opportunity to have these 3 games in one compilation game during the life cycle of the Genesis. It could be like a Genesis version, 32X version, and a Sega CD version. But for some reason they didn't go there, and they could have put it on Sega Saturn or Sega Dreamcast. But like I say, they decided not to do that. But they can still do that with PS4, Xbox One, and the upcoming Nintendo Switch. But I kind of doubt it if they actually do that. But with that being said, Streets of Rage 3 is a good way to end this particular trilogy of games, and I would honestly recommend it to any gamer who's into retro games or like a fan of Genesis or even like or a fan of pretty much the beat 'em up genre as a whole. You know, as far as the score is concerned, I would definitely like give it an 8. I'll say mainly because of like the soundtrack is not as good as it should be as a whole. It's pretty much, and another thing is like when I prefer the beat 'em ups on Super Nintendo anyway. But then again, that's just me. Others like Genesis games, you know. Now with that being said, if you like this review of Streets of Rage 3, you can click the thumbs up button. If you happen to be a fan of Streets of Rage 3, you can mention it in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe. This is your boy Big Metroid Fan 12 signing off.